Bitcoin reached another milestone by surpassing silver's market cap just a couple of weeks ago, and I decided to wait a little bit to explain to you in this video what the reasonings are for that vast increase in Bitcoin's value, what the key events have been, how long it could take until Bitcoin sees the overtake of another commodity, and where it ranks up against other companies and assets alike. But first off, I'm recording this video in August, late August 2025, and even with the small price dip we're seeing now, Bitcoin is still worth more than silver's market cap, with Bitcoin at 2.4 trillion, roughly in US dollars, and silver at 2.2, 2.25. With that, Bitcoin has achieved within, let's say, 15 to 16 years, the major thing other assets had decades, if not even centuries, to overtake silver, which is a big deal because silver, in comparison to commodities, is the smaller brother to gold. Bitcoin is often being compared as digital gold. There is a lot of nuances there that are similar from a capped supply, although Bitcoin supply is definitely capped. Gold's is always an estimation, to its use cases, for example, in the performance in the past, where you could say you could use it as a hyperinflation hedge or as a hedge against uncertainty with gold. If you're a little bit more risk averse, you can also do the same with Bitcoin. And just generally speaking, the similarities of how you actually acquire Bitcoin. You mine it, not in the same way as gold, but there is a lot of overlap there. And now the big question arises, if you compare Bitcoin to other companies and assets, where does it actually stack up? In the current list, it has very regularly overtaken companies such as Amazon or maybe even Google. And at the time of recording again, it's the fifth largest asset in comparison with companies and commodities. It leaves out asset classes such as real estate, for example, or the stock market as a whole. Looking at this, you can even expand further and see that Bitcoin is now at 1.7% of the global money supply with every currency around. And considering that Bitcoin doesn't have the luxury it has, for example, such as gold with the established history, the use cases in the past, the reserves by the national banks, or the, let's say, approval by the states with their fiat currencies, actually getting to 1.7% of the money supply, surpassing silver in the end, and sort of having a check mark there, being on track to also track gold, which is the largest asset in that list, is quite a feat. There has been really only two major events which led to Bitcoin increasing suchly in value. One is the ETFs, launched in January last year in 2024, and the continuous buying accumulation currently by whales and larger institutions, most likely either for treasury companies or whales are also starting to get back into Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin still has some ways to go on that list I've mentioned, and you will have seen it a couple of times now blended into the video. Next up are a few companies. In the end, there is only one big company it also has to tackle, and that is Nvidia. And considering how fast they are growing and how Bitcoin is catching up, could be a matter of time. And if we in the end get to gold, you could, at the current time and the current prices, estimate a multiplication of 6 to 8x, depending a little bit on how you look, how the money supply grows, generally speaking, because you do measure everything in fiat. And at the end of the day, also how obviously gold is continuing to grow. So if you want to know what would happen if Bitcoin passed gold, go by this 6, 7, or 8x at the current prices, and you would see what would happen if we have the same market cap as gold. It's an exciting time in Bitcoin, but I'm more curious if you have known about Bitcoin surpassing silver and if you've known about the list with all the other companies. And if you think this was just a lucky feat or if we are on track for much bigger things, let me know in the comment below. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.